I'm here with Jeff Tunn, the EVP of Product and Service Development at Bluelock, which was acquired by InterVision earlier this year. Thanks for joining us, Jeff.
Hey, I'm very glad to be here, Shaylee. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you tell our audience a little bit about Bluelock for those who may be unfamiliar with the company?
Absolutely. Bluelock is, we're about a 12-year-old company. We were born as an infrastructure as a service company. In fact, one of our founders wrote the first Wikipedia entry for IaaS, infrastructure as a service. About 5 years ago, maybe 6 now, we got into the disaster recovery as a service market as well. So we provide disaster recovery services in 2 flavors, either from a client's premise or to the cloud, or from one cloud to another if they're one of our IaaS customers. And we've been doing that, like say, 5 or 6 years. We've been recognized by Gartner 3 years in a row in their Magic Quadrant for DRAS. So we're very excited by that.
That's right. Tell us about what brought you to Bluelock and what your day-to-day looks like as EVP of Product and Service Development.
Certainly. So I was actually a client of Bluelock's, and I was a CIO for a local nonprofit, and we were looking for a better way of doing DR, and we found Bluelock. And I enjoyed working with the company so much. When the opportunity presented itself, I joined the company as EVP of Product and Service Development. And what that means on a day-to-day basis is I get the great job of looking 2 and 3 and 4 years in the future and trying to understand what problems clients or prospective clients will be having, and working with our teams at Bluelock to make sure that our product helps solve those problems when they do run into them in the future. It's really kind of fun. It's kind of crystal ball-ish, which is really exciting.
Well, we're excited to have you here. The stories that are most impactful to the Lifter Index sentiment score generally revolve around security issues and outages. So how does Bluelock make sure that security and outage issues aren't as impactful to their clients?
That's a great question, because we as a disaster recovery provider talk about the marriage between security and recovery a lot, especially when you think about it in cloud context. So we like to talk about security being a 2-prong approach. You have the preventative measures to keep the threats from impacting your systems. But we all know that you can spend a lot of money on preventative, and you're only 1 mouse click away from having a security breach. So you also need the restorative measures, and that's where disaster recovery comes in. DR is not just for natural disasters anymore. It's also for security issues as well. With the technology that DRAS brings, you can recover your systems so much faster and to a specific point in time before the attack occurred, and be back up and running very quickly. So it's that balance between preventative and restorative with detection in the middle, so that you know that you had an issue and can react to it.
Right. So Bluelock focuses on disaster recovery and infrastructure as a service solutions. How does Bluelock differentiate themselves from the competition? Because there is a lot out there.
Well, there are a lot of companies out there that do disaster recovery as a service and infrastructure as a service. What we've done is we've wrapped some processes around DR as a service. It's a fully managed offering, and we call it Bluelock Recovery Assurance. It's this process of working with the clients to make sure that all of their needs are met from a recovery perspective. DR is not a one-size-fits-all. Every IT shop is different. They have different technologies. Right. They have different platforms, and that calls for unique solutions a lot of times. So you may have a client that is 80% standard. Everything is replicated because it's VM to VM, but then they've got 10 servers that are still physical, so they need help with that. Our process enables us to identify those needs and bring solutions to those in a holistic approach so that it all works together seamlessly when they need to recover, they're all there at the same time.
Right. So what is the biggest mistake Bluelock sees when working with customers in cloud and cloud security?
The biggest mistake that we see when people are migrating to the cloud or doing disaster recovery in the cloud is lack of planning. Especially when you look at it from a DR perspective, not having a plan in place and trying to recover in the heat of the battle when something is going wrong,
right,
can be quite difficult.
Right.
If it's a cloud migration, one of the things that we find is clients don't know what they don't know. For an example, when I was CIO and we were migrating to the cloud, we didn't know everything that was in our own system. So as things were migrating, we were identifying servers that our systems team might not have had an idea of what they even really did, because they were just somebody else was taking care of them. So you uncover a lot of issues or a lot of at least unknowns as you're going through that process.
Right.
So having a good plan helps you react to those situations when you do run across them.
Right. Bluelock Solutions currently protects clients in their on-premises data centers, enabling failover into Bluelock's cloud or providing failover between your clouds for the IaaS customers. Are you working on a solution involving the hyperscale clouds like AWS or Azure?
Absolutely. You know, the AWS and Azure, collectively, those hyperscale clouds are great targets for disaster recovery as a service products and solutions for our clients. So we actually have a process by which we implement solutions on a one-off basis, I'll call it, or a tailored approach. So we actually have some solutions today, some clients today, that are replicating their data into the AWS cloud, and we are providing that service. What we're doing now from a product perspective is, quote-unquote, productizing that, right? We're making it generally available to others. We're also in the process of working on a pure DRaaS product that will replicate from a customer premise into the AWS or Azure cloud. That's kind of our next step that we're working on before the end of the year.
That's exciting. What is the biggest challenge you've experienced when moving from data centers to the cloud?
So the biggest challenge that we see that customers have when they're doing this is just the amount of data. Moving data from an on-prem data center into the cloud, you know, physics can only allow you to move at the speed of light if you're connected by fiber. And if you're moving terabytes or petabytes of data, it can take a long time. And so clients that are doing that need to understand that they need to allow for that length of time just to purely move that data around.
Right. So do Bluelock Solutions integrate with all public cloud providers and private cloud as well?
Today, our standard offering integrates with our own clouds, the Bluelock clouds. As I mentioned, we do have a solution that integrates with AWS. In the future, we're going to be cloud agnostic. So all of our solutions will integrate with an on-premise cloud, so a private cloud that might be hosted in a customer data center, our own clouds, as well as those hyperscale clouds.
Okay. Bluelock was acquired by InterVision back in March, what has been the biggest challenge and biggest success in merging the companies?
The biggest challenge I think that we've experienced is it's typical when you have an acquisition. You've got two companies that have different processes, they have different personalities and different cultures, and so the challenge is one of merging those together. And picking out which ones make the most sense to carry forward from a process perspective, as well as understanding each other's culture. Even when you look at a company like InterVision that has headquarters in Santa Clara and St. Louis, and Bluelock, we're in Indianapolis, so you think the cultures between St. Louis and Indianapolis would be the same. They're similar, but there's still differences. And so trying to understand those and manage to those as you're still carrying on business can be a challenge, definitely.
Right. It's challenging, but it's an exciting process.
It is an exciting process. It's really exciting, especially when you look at the marriage of these two companies. The product set that Bluelock had and the product set that InterVision has is very complementary, and we like to talk about it in the perspective of it solves a lot of issues for clients because we can meet them where they are. We can work on-prem with them. We can sell them hardware. We can do managed services. Now with Bluelock, we can do cloud and disaster recovery. And so no matter where those clients are on their digital transformation or their IT transformation, we can meet them there and help them move along that journey. And that is very, very exciting.
Yes. Well, thanks for being with us today, Jeff.
Thank you very much for having me. I really enjoyed it, Shaylee.
Yes, we appreciate your insight into cloud security and disaster recovery as a service. Is your company in the cloud industry? Have an interesting technology? We'd love to interview you. Email us at ideas@lifternews.com and let's connect.